One of the biggest aspects of the BT games is the character roster. This is further cemented by the fact the official site announcing the return of these games states they're popular among fans for having a massive roster of characters from across all the Dragon Ball series. While it doesn't confirm anything, the fact they are acknowledging this means they are likely to try to have a big roster rather than hold back. As nothing has been announced in terms of the amount of characters the game will have, making a list of who I think is likely to be in the game is a bit tricky. So what I'll do is go through each arc and list the characters that I think are most likely to show up. With that in mind, let's get to the list. Goku. The only confirmed character so far. So the only real thing to talk about here is how they'll handle him. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't do it like Raging Blast, where you just have one Goku where you can change the moves on. This would reduce character bloat by keeping the amount of repeat characters to a minimum. Piccolo. Man, this can carry you all the way through Super with one character. He only has 4 possible forms with Nail, Kami, Unlock Potential, and Orange. The real question is if the last 2 will be in the game or not. If not in the base game, probably DLC at some point. Kid Gohan. This one's pretty set with nothing really to say. Gohan for Saiyan and Frieza Saga. The only thing they could do that would surprise me would be giving him a Great Ape as a transformation. But I don't necessarily see them bringing back Giants for this game. Krillin. Just like Piccolo, you only need one Krillin. Not that we ever had more than one Krillin anyway. Poor Krillin. I don't think there are any surprises they could throw us here. At the very least, Super could help give him some more moves. Raditz. The hero of having awesome movesets should make his return. I mean, how could you have a game without the Joggy of the series? Yamcha. Of course we need Yamcha in the game, even if he got screwed over in Super. Tien. One of my favorite characters, and he might get some new stuff for this game too. Jiaozu. Assuming they remember he exists, he should make the cut to complete the OG Dragon Ball crew. Cybermen. Now this is one I think they may cut, but it would feel a bit crappy to not have the fill-in punching bag of the series. Nappa. You really can't do a Saiyan Saga without him. Vegeta. I mean, of course Vegeta will be in the game. As much like Goku, they can condense him down to not have a bunch of repeat characters. Kui. A character who is known for 2 things. One of his attacks being funny, and getting blown up in a cool way by Vegeta. As him being included would mean these 2 things would be in the game, it certainly would be nice if he did return. On the other hand, he is kind of an easy skip. Dodoria. Of course Dodoria has a good chance of showing up, the first real threat our heroes face on Namek. Also, as one of the big bads for Bardock, it helps elevate Dodoria to making it in. Zarbon. Much like Nappa, you really can't have the first half of this saga without him. He was the main threat until the Ginyu Force showed up. Starting this arc by fighting Raccoon would be a bit jarring, so I'm pretty confident he'll be there. Nail. Always nice to see in games when he does show up, but his record is not the best when it comes to showing up in games. As such, he's a lot like Kui in that regard. He does have a real chance of being in the game, but he could also just be easily passed over. The Ginyu Force. All of them will be in the game. They show up together in every BT and Raging Blast game, so I expect that trend to continue here. Frieza. Not much to talk about here yet. We all know that Frieza's going to be in the game. Mecha Frieza. Seems likely we'll get this, mainly due to the fact Sword Trunks needs someone to fight. Trunks. I can't imagine they wouldn't have every Trunks in the game. This is a BT game. If a character exists, they pretty much get all their forms. Cell Saga Gohan. There, I got around what they'll name him for this video. I can't see him not being his own character like in all the other games. 19 and 20. Basically, the same things about Zarbon and Dodoria apply here. Would be surprised if they both didn't show up. 16, 17, and 18. I mean, core units right here. 17 and 18 even more so, given Super. Should be fun to see the new moves they'll get. Cell. Of course you need the Cell we all know and love. No way he won't be in the game. Hercule. What game would be complete without Hercule? Gotta have the world champ. Cell Jr. If you're gonna have Cybermen in the game, you need the other version of him. Pikkon. Now onto a real fence character. He does have a way of making it into games, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him here. Thanks to Super, this Gohan is going to get a lot of new things, unless they make a separate Super Gohan. I don't think they need to do that though. Also, since Super has really hammered it in that Ultimate is a form he can go in and out of, it would make sense to put that as a transformation here, rather than its own thing like it usually is. Videl. Videl has a way of making it into games, so I don't see why she wouldn't make it into this one. Goten. One half of Gotenks. Also pretty important for the Buu Saga. Kid Trunks. The other half of Gotenks. And also important for the Buu Saga. Supreme Kai. A character who is definitely on the fence, but does have a pretty good record of slipping into games. Having a fusion probably helps with that. Dabura. The first antagonist of the Buu Saga. You could probably get away with not including him, but he has a pretty nice moveset. Plus, they might finally be able to properly include his Stone Spit. Fat Buu. The only Buu to make it out of this saga alive, so he should be around just from the amount of stuff he can show up in. Majin Vegeta, one of the best Vegetas in the game in terms of a moveset. Would really leave a hole in the game if he wasn't included. Gotenks. This is one of those characters that you just know will be in the game. Super Buu. He was in way too many fights to get cut from the game. Like half the Buu Saga would go away if he's not in it. Vegito. While he didn't have his own character select spot on the menu, gotta talk about him still. The important thing here is that he has a new form that we all know will show up. The question is, how will he show up in the game given how many forms he'll have? But more importantly, how many Goku will now have? Kid Buu. The final battle is Z. This crazy little guy will be in the game. God Goku. Now, it says God Goku, but I could see them just splitting up Goku into a Super and a Z version. Of course, I can also see them not doing this. For now, though, I'll just keep it here as its own thing. Beerus. I mean, how can you have a game that includes Super and not have Beerus? You can't, that's how. Whis. Honestly, he's a bit on the fence for me. While I do think that he's on the side of being in the game more than most fence characters, the fact that he is more of a master than a fighter could hold him back. Golden Frieza. Yeah, this will be in the game. Will he be his own character though? Honestly, I hope not. This is really the only thing that they added for Frieza, and you could easily do it all with one character. Frost. While this might be a bit of a stretch, it would be nice to see him in the game. Not to mention, it would allow for a more complete Universe 6 tournament. Cabba. It would be nice if they had some sort of team attack system in the game, so you could do like a triple Gallic gun with Vegeta, Trunks, and Cabba. Or something like that. Hit. Here we have another character that will be in the game regardless of how they decide to do the roster. Trunks. There are two ways they could handle this Trunks. The first is just an alternate Sword Trunks, and the other is his own character. Regardless of how they handle him, he will be in the game. Goku Black. This is another character that will easily be in the game. Zamasu. And might as well throw this one in too. Fuse Zamasu. And ending it with this one. Bergamo. The closest thing you'll have to Ultra Ego in the game, probably. Easy possible skip for him. Even more so if they don't put in giant characters. But if they do, then that actually helps him get in, I think. Not too crazy to think he could be in the game, given that he was the first actual opponent in the Tournament of Power. Although I could easily see him not making the cut. Master Roshi. Now I think they won't have Dragon Ball characters in the base game, so that means Roshi will be the super version. I think he has a better chance than many on the fence characters, but ultimately he does fall into that category for me. Toppo. One of the main opponents in the Tournament of Power, and he has a God of Destruction transformation. And you can't have Jiren all by himself. Caulifla. She's my favorite character, so of course I want her to be in the game. That aside, I do think there's a good chance for her showing up anyway. Main opponent and part of the best fusion, Kale. If you're gonna have Caulifla, you need Kale. Plus, she has some varied forms and is the other half of the best fusion, Kefla. And the best fusion in question. Even if they don't have Caulifla and Kale in the game, Kefla will be in the game. Brienne. Pretty much the same thing as Bergamo, really. Jiren. The main opponent of the arc. The only question here is if he'll have his full power form as a transformation, or as just a power-up. Ultra Instinct Goku. I can easily see him being his own character, with Master being a transformation from it. Vegeta from Super. As with Goku, I can see them splitting off Vegeta into a Z and Super version, although I can also see them just making it all one character. Cooler. While I don't think there'll be much movie representation in the base game, I do think they will cover the big ones. Cooler's pretty popular, so the only reason I could see them holding him back would be to sell a DLC. Although they can't hold too much back for DLC, so I think Cooler has a good chance of showing up anyway. Broly. The old Kakarot yelling Broly is one of the most popular characters, so throwing him in just makes sense. While you could say he'll be added in DLC, we do need a baseline of characters for people to buy the game in the first place. Janinba. Unique moveset combined with the fact you just know Gogeta will be in the game. So, we need someone for him to fight, right? New Broly. This might be the only reason I can see on holding back the other Broly until DLC. We have two of him now. One is far better than the other though. So while I can see both of them being in the base game and will love watching them fight each other, I can see one of them being in the game and the other being DLC. Which way would it go? No idea. Bardock. I feel like skipping out on Bardock would be a big mistake. He's popular, but I don't think he would make a good DLC choice, unless they feel like going all crazy and adding in his whole team and Super Saiyan Bardock and everything. And that brings the character total to 72 that I talked about, with 123 counting all the forms. So that's my whole list. Do I expect all of them to make it in? No. I even labeled people as I went as being on the fence. Anyone I didn't mention, I think has a better chance of not being in the game than being in the game. The only things I'll mention in particular are the Super Manga and GT. The Super Manga hasn't shown up in anything else. They haven't even shown up in Dokkan, so I can't see them showing up in this game, even more so in the base game. As for GT, I can only see it coming in a stripped down form, as in maybe the Super Saiyan 4s and Omega Shenron. Regardless, I think this would be a solid starting roster to the game, with of course more characters coming through DLC later. But I'm interested in what you guys think. How do you think the roster will pan out? Leave a comment if you want, and enjoy the rest of your day.